hair's all wicked.
Wicked ass.
Yeah,
It's all wicked ass.
Yep.
And we're live. Make sure this bitch is turned up. Okay. Can y'all hear us good?
Never. Hang on. Sound check. Say something. Hang on. Never mind. Sound check. Say something. Hang on.
All right, we're good then?
All right. Audio's good.
Dope. Whoop whoop. Shout out to Dorian. That's fucking empty.
That's the way to do it. Pitch it.
I know, right? All right. Waiting to... You finishing up the links?
Yeah, I got them sent out. I just added to the chat.
Oh.
Yeah. Share this bitch out.
Hit up Nexus, Suicidal Queen, Tink, Strife. Boyan's already in here, and he's got it for Tank. Emily. My peoples. You got your peoples. I think we got everybody that we send it to.
Yeah, normally, and I shared it out on the page.
All right.
Oh, so, what are we talking about today? It's not a game diary.
No, it's not. It's about TTRPGs, but it's not a game diary. We're kind of piggyback stealing from fucking Seth Skorkowski today.
Shout out to Seth Skorkowski. Subscribe to his shit. # not sponsored.
Yeah. Okay, so I emailed Seth about doing an interview. So if y'all go to check him out, drop a bunch of comments in his videos about it getting back to Jade about the interview with LHRPG.
Fuck yeah. We need to get a petition going.
Because if we can get him on one of them, like Send the Link lives for an interview, that would be so epic.
Fucking sit down with Seth Skorkowski. That'd be the shit.
I want to do sit down with him and Brennan Mulligan.
Brennan, yeah.
I sound like I'm losing my voice again from these fucking allergies. He and I got hit so hard with pollen and wind on the way here. It's fucking unreal.
It sucks.
And we didn't have any tissues, so I had to use newspaper to blow my nose.
I don't have anything to drink. And I just chiefed the fuck out of that blunt.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
I don't know if there's any left.
Is there?
There's a little bit, but if you get him a cup, you probably have to make more.
I was going to ask you if you'd grab it while we got this started, since you don't talk like we do.
I guess.
There. Just for being a super nice guy.
Oh, no, I'm good.
If
I
you
only
don't-
need one.
Okay.
I'll take it for him.
No,
Shit.
that's not how this works.
I mean, I recommended the idea.
That's nice. If you would have
I
offered
pulled a
to do
Sheldon
it,
Cooper and I delegated
Yeah.
that shit.
if you would have offered to do it, I might have given you one.
Been watching Young Sheldon, and he'll hear something and he goes, I didn't know he had a twin sister.
So, as the title suggests, we're actually gonna jack off of Seth Skorkowski and talk about the philosophy of tabletop RPGs. So basically, just
We won't
little
be stealing
nuances.
Jack the NPC.
We're not gonna be talking about our games. We might include snippets for reference,
examples,
right? But we're not gonna be doing a full on recap or review or anything. We're gonna be talking about basically the different aspects
because I'm trying not to get all
of
up on
gaming. Yeah. Well, I have had it that way because Greeny kept getting off camera.
I know he's scrawny. He might be able to scoot back and be more in camera.
Look who's in this bitch now.
Suicidal Queen. I talked to her this morning before we come down here.
All right. So which one of these do we want to hit first?
I think we should start. We should open up with either this one or this one to give a good
How about this? How about this? I got an idea. Where's my? Okay. We'll start with this one here.
Suicidal Queen said, "What it do?"
We'll start with this one, and then we'll move up to this one.
Start with which one? This one?
Yep.
And then move up to this one?
Yep.
All right.
And if
Get
you
some good
guys,
groundwork
have
going.
any topics you want covered, throw them in the chat.
Suicidal Queen, say start with number 1. They're not numbered
No, we never write this shit in order ever.
because our
comes
conversations
to
don't
us-
go in order, so
right.
we just jump around
It
so
comes
much.
to us, we write it down so we don't forget. So the first thing we're going to touch on is, I think, probably one of the most important, and that's the social contract.
Mhm.
And that is basically an agreement made by everyone in the group, whether or not they know they made it.
But it doesn't matter if you're the GM or a player, you all have a role to play in this social contract. Well, fluff a duck.
So basically, the social contract, it's not like a written contract. Obviously, it's called social. And it's not necessarily something everyone talks about, even though I think they should. That's why we have session zeros.
Right. It's something that's more so, just established within the group and unspoken.
And it's basically the number one priority of the game master is to provide a fun and comfortable game for everyone at the table. The
Also,
number
look
one
challenging.
priority of the players is to make sure that everyone else at the table is having as much fun and feels as comfortable as they do. So everyone has to work together to provide this environment.
Which I find it funny, we've never sat down and discussed the roles of the social contract. Like we said, it's sort of an unspoken thing. But yet, anytime we get a new player, like when Tank joined or when Greeny joined, all of us were, taking turns like, oh, okay, well, he needs to figure this out. And so-and-so's doing this. So here, let me see what you've got, and I'll help you show you what to roll, or I'll show you where that skill is, or that way it's not all on the GM to show the ropes, And I like the way you do it whenever we have a new player too, is what you'll do is you'll have everyone else go. That way they can get an idea of, okay, like start with the oldest players in the group that have been doing it the longest. And then go to, whoever joined after them and whoever joined right before the newest. And then you get to the newest, like, okay, you've seen what they do. You see, you can do pretty much whatever you want within reason. This is the situation. You've seen how they responded. How would you like to go about this?
Right.
It doesn't necessarily put them on the spot as much, I think.
Right. That's what I don't agree with, putting the brand new player that's never had an experience and going, well, we'll start with you. What are you doing? And
now, I know some GMs do that as a way to kind of break them from their comfort zone and get them to evolve.
If that's, your thing, that's your thing. I have a small cup.
Just
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be difficult. Thank you so much. I sound like an ass.
Are you okay? You're shaking.
It's that nicotine rush. Thank you. I don't mean to sound rude.
I was like, you're hitting that thing so much, you're getting more nicotine off that than you are off of when you're smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, one cart has the same amount of nicotine as a full pack of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
So if you puff that often, bro.
One of the reasons why I stopped vaping when I tried to vape.
That doesn't mean it's 5% of what this is.
I know.
When I tried vaping, I stopped because A, it was tearing my lungs up worse. I already have bad breathing problems. And B, I was constantly like this.
Anyway,
because I was getting so much more.
That's not why we're here. We're not here to shame Greeny for his vaping. We are here to talk about this. A little bit more on the social contract.
I think, like you said, it really gets established at session 1 of each camp, or session 0 of each campaign, because that's when we go through, we run through briefly on the rules for the campaign. We run through
the
setting, creating the characters, get everybody in a good mindset of what to expect and what we're going to be doing. They learn a little bit about what kind of character they want to play, and it gets a good foundation.
I normally provide the setting before character creation. That way it gives people a good amount of information to where they can build their character to fit that world.
Suicidal Queen, players helping players, is honestly my favorite part of a great team play. The group playing off everyone else's strength is such an important part of having a great team group.
Fuck yes.
That is so true.
Fuck yes.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna
100.
heart that shit.
100 that.
Hearts and hundreds. Because that is so true, Suicidal Queen.
That is, yes. Enough said. Next
I think
up.
she wrapped that up nicely.
Yeah, I think so.
They're still going.
Damn. We're gonna jump up to the top of the list here now. Player and GM types. Which one do we want to start with?
Well, we have less experience with GM types in our
Mhm.
group, so I think we should start with that just so that we can, discuss the different types.
Okay. Well, then how about this? We'll start off
She
With,
said, "Oh, that's why we are the shit.
because we the shit.
We the shit.
What
We
are
the
we?
We the shit. We the shit."
Anyway,
That's your fucking ringtone on my phone.
that's dope. Oh, shout out everyone on our playlist that we
Nitro's
listen
newest
to
artwork.
religiously. Ugh.
I think usually when we pull up playing either Humble Among or Ouija.
Yeah. So here's what we'll
Shitty
do.
Paw. She's referencing the shit
Yeah.
paw fiasco.
R.I.P. shit pause. She didn't die trying to suck her own dick.
What the fuck?
It's a running gag on Humble's broadcast.
And at the beginning, he'll mention it's
Somebody.
It's always someone
somebody.
different. And he'll go, R.I.P. so-and-so. Like if he did, say he
Yeah.
did Lil Nitro, he'll
Right.
say, R.I.P. Lil Nitro. He died trying to suck his own dick.
It's a running gag on the Humble Among broadcast system. So
Shout
I
out
like
to Humble
plug it.
Among.
I like to plug it.
Uh,
Anyways, so we'll start with come up with a name for my GM type,
Okay.
and then break down what that entails, and then I'll move on with other ones that I've experienced.
I'd say the immersive GM.
Okay.
Because 90%, if not 95% at least, of your GMing is making sure not only the world itself is so creative and immersive and we're right there, you will single out each character and make sure they have a plot point in the story.
Yeah.
That way, each player is at the edge of their seat, feeling included, feeling like, okay, I have an important role.
Yeah, I think
Not to mention
kinda-
the voices that you do.
yeah, I think I kind of flopped on that in freshman year. Because I remember at the end of the campaign, Tink had mentioned that she didn't feel as important to the story. She didn't feel like she had a very big role in it. I made sure she had plenty of like religious plot points because that was her background.
Right.
But I don't think it was enough, and that's why I tried to make her a bigger part sophomore year.
And see, like when we finished sophomore year, at first, I kind of felt like she did, because in the first season,
Ooh,
a
that
lot
is
of
cold.
did the coffee pot shut off? Because mine's not hot either.
I'll just have to chug it.
Coffee pot was still on.
Did you make more? Okay. Because like freshman year, a lot of the plot, Bex was involved, and finding Gorthalax and figuring out how to get him out had played a big role in helping with the girls and all that good shit. And then season 2, I didn't feel as involved until I sat back and was reliving it in my head. I was like, no, because if we hadn't had that Hell B storyline with Bex,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have made it into the forest.
Right.
And that, I liked that. I liked how even though one character is minor role, it's still important.
Very.
Whereas Tink had, this major role that was super important. Everybody's roles was
Like,
important
you
to the end
played-
result, no matter how big or small.
You played a big part not only in getting into the forest, but also freeing Gorthalax and taking care of Aelwen and like you played a fairly big role. It's just I felt like hell, you became an archdevil. I felt like the disconnect between you and Tank in freshman year was to where you were getting most of the real big scenes, and she was the side character that was very important. And so sophomore year, I kind of flipped it, where I tried to make it more equal, and in doing that, I think I overcorrected. And even though you were still very important, you were kind of down here, and she had more of the big fucking scenes.
I still like the fact that no matter how big or small the role is in the plot, it matters. If one of those players,
hell, Adam
one of
mattered,
those
and he was the
characters-
newbie.
right,
Adam
if
mattered,
one of those
Tim
characters
mattered.
was not there, it would have been so different.
Think of how bad the battle on the Goonie in Hell could have gone if Pac hadn't shown up.
Or fucking Ida.
And without Tim, we wouldn't have Pac. Without you, we wouldn't have Ida. You know?
Holy shit, yeah, even though Ida's an NPC and could have been brought in at any time, it was Bex's relationship with her that made her go with the group.
Because she was gonna stay on Leviathan. Like, if you would have turned her down, like, romantically, she wouldn't have gone with you.
Oh shit! Because see, when she asked to go with, I just assumed that was part of the story. She wanted to get the hell out of Leviathan.
She was interested in you.
Okay. See, I didn't even think that was the reason for that. Like, I knew she was interested, like, obviously.
Right.
But I thought that was just, part of the story that she was supposed to go with the group.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
full disclosure, she did go with the group and Brendan's group, but that's also because she was dating Fig.
Right. As different as our group is
What
from
else can you
them, the
say?
fucking similarities is ridiculous. Always makes players feel super comfortable within who they are in the game, yet always make it challenging, leaving options for how the players decide how their character paths go.
Another example from Fantasy High. The end of sophomore year. If you remember, sophomore year, I think it was the second session. During the recap, if you go back and watch, I take out a piece of paper and I write something down on it, and I fold it up and I say, this is for Tank for the finale. And I put it in my drawer. During the ending of the finale, she had a decision to make, whether or not to approach the Nightmare King, like, physically, right?
It was 100% on her.
Yeah. And she admitted that she was terrified, but she felt like she needed to. And so I pulled out that fucking paper and I was like, I wrote this down at the beginning of the campaign, and I opened it up and it said, embrace the fear.
I remember that because when you wrote it down, we were sitting there filming and you were like, hang on. And you said that, you put it away, and I completely forgot about it until that moment came, and you pull it out, and I'm like, oh shit, that's what I was like, that's the thing. That's the thing.
So, like, she was very important to that plot point.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew it from day one. But I had to make sure that she had a choice in the matter. She could have fled the Nightmare King. 100%. And if she had, Galatea would have been lost forever. Unable to have been brought back. The fact that she chose to embrace him is what freed Galatea.
Yep. Tink did some epic shit that season.
Earned Zarina her sainthood.
The finale of that season was like epic for Tink.
Yeah. So she killed Angwin, didn't she?
Yes. With a moonbeam.
Yes. All right.
Okay, what's other
some
types
more
of GMs?
GM types? I have played with what is it? The greedy GM, I guess we'll call it. It's the one that doesn't give out loot, doesn't give out XP, just you fight a team of fucking evil wizards and then you go to loot the corpses at the end and they all catch fire, all the loot's destroyed. Or, okay, we just killed a dragon, you get 50 XP to split. Shit like that. Yeah, it's very fucking annoying.
Usually with you, even if you don't have anything epic to give us, you'll at least find 1,000 gold on each of them, and then we split up the money.
I don't want to go the opposite route and become like the loot fairy, which is one that just showers you with shit to the point where when you get super cool shit, you're just like, I've already got something better.
Right.
I don't want to do that.
You
So
want to make
I try to give you good shit, but I try to space it out. Like I think in Fantasy High again, I think both seasons you got really cool shit twice, the entire fucking campaign. And in between all that, if you search it, I'm like, you find a scroll, or you find 25 gold.
Even if it's something we think is, dope, it still makes the really epic shit that much more
like if all you're
satisfying. That's
right,
the word I'm looking
like
for.
if all you're finding is like a +1 longsword or 50 gold or a scroll of healing or something like
He's
that,
making it realistic.
and then you get into a fight and you end up leaving that place with a pair of headphones that make you immune to auditory attacks. Those headphones are beast.
Right.
Basically what I mean by
SQ said, also the ability to adapt the game, meaning younger player friendly versus adult player. And I've watched GMs not able to switch between gameplays.
I have to, because from time to time my son plays and he's 11.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I say he plays it, or he does it more realistic to the looting, is like basically what I'm saying is like in games, you don't just go up to someone and go, I'm going to loot this person. Oh, he's got all these nice stats. No.
Yeah.
How you play it in game is you go up and you kill that person, you might get a decent shield,
Depending
maybe a
on
decent
who
armor.
that person is.
And then
too.
once you start getting up into the game and you start playing against bosses, that's when you start getting the good gear.
Like realistically,
Like if you're playing in Skyrim and you just kill like
Some
a basic
random-
guard,
yeah,
you'll get, okay, well he's got this
50
kind of
gold,
armor,
a
this
little-
kind of
a little
sword, this kind of
dagger.
shield.
like be honest. You're not gonna find a fucking holy avenger on a bartender,
Right.
right?
Which
You're
is
not gonna find a
important.
carpet of flying on a level 2 monk.
She said, which is important because we have legacies to teach.
Yes.
We're getting the t-shirt.
Shout out to all the LHR legacies.
Another type of GM. Now, I'm thankful I haven't played with this type, but I've watched and listened to videos about it. The railroading GM.
Oh yeah. Full disclosure, the first time I ever ran a campaign mod, I was that GM because I was convinced I had to stick to what the book said at all costs, otherwise I was doing it wrong.
So even if they did something that would have led somewhere else,
I was
instead
like,
of
no,
tying it
we
back
can't
in
do
some
that.
way, you were like, no, you have to do this.
Right. And that game sucked and it died after 2 sessions. And I was like, maybe I'll look up some videos on how to run a module. And that's when I found Seth. And I was like, you mean I can change shit?
As like
And that opened up a whole new world for me.
right now as a GM, we'll do some off the wall shit that you couldn't expect. And like you could clearly see it on his face. He's like, you're what? Okay. And while we're doing it and rolling it, he's figuring out how he can fucking loop it back around.
It's what another plug to Seth. We're gonna be shouting that fucker out this whole fucking episode.
I think
But
most of the videos we watched to prepare were
one of my
Seth's,
favorite Seth Skorkowski quotes is, whether you decide to go left or right doesn't really matter. All roads lead to Ravenloft because that's the adventure the GM has purchased and has spent several weeks preparing.
Right.
And that's not a railroady statement. That is okay, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to do the adventure, this is the adventure we're doing.
And anytime, one of us wants to
That's
do
part of
something
the social
that would
contract.
just break,
just like-
getting to that point, you'll point out, like, are you, like, okay, we were doing something and I was ready to quit.
Yeah.
Viral. We were in Viral.
Yep.
And too much shit started happening. My character was like, you know what, dude? I quit this fucking show because it's not worth it. And
This also ties into a later
That's
topic.
That's the
Nitro
episode I was getting ready to ask. What is the game that we played that we were all sitting there playing, and then someone said, I didn't say anything.
I know. I was just
Jay-
reminding you.
Jay was like,
yeah, I told him, I was like, I
I'm done.
quit. I'm not doing this show anymore. And
he's like,
Nitro looks at me and he goes, are you really going to quit right now? I'm like, I mean, with all this shit. And he goes,
well,
if you quit, the game's over. You can't play anymore. And I was like, Fine.
Yeah, because if you would have backed out, then it would have crashed the whole game, and everyone would have been pissed.
we would have been done. That again, that'll tie
Yeah,
into
because
a
I
later
think that
topic.
was before we revealed you as a psychic. So at that point, I was the only psychic in the group.
And I would have been pissed because we weren't even halfway through the fucking game yet.
I think we hit the halfway mark at that.
I think that was right at the halfway mark
Yeah.
because that's when all the shit started really hitting the fan.
That's right
And
after
that's
you
why I
found
made
out-
that fucking reaction.
That's right after you found out who the Death Monk was.
And they were trying to chase us
In the-
and kill
in
us.
the
And
live
you're like,
chat.
I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
leaving.
right after all
I'm
this
going
shit,
home.
we connected the dots, and I was like, "Stop doing what the fuck this dumbass says, or I quit."
Is that a new message? I don't have my glasses.
No, that's the Legacies one.
All right, cool.
That's why I got the chat right here.
All right, let's see other GM types. The rule of cool GM just goes with the flow, no matter what players want to do. The drawback to that is they do that even at the expense of their own game. So there are plenty of amazing campaigns that have been completely derailed because the GM just refuses to put their foot down.
Right. That's in my opinion, the opposite of
The railroad,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they're so adamant about no, we will get this done. This is how this is supposed to
The
happen.
always say yes GMs. I want to jump to the moon. Yeah, okay. No, you can't do that.
I know.
Shout
I know a
out
lot
to
of,
Luke Hart from DM's Guild. That I totally stole that line from him.
Right. There's a lot of GMs that stick straight to rules as written. The rules as written, guys.
We're gonna cover that later too.
Whereas there's others that will, if it makes sense or it's cool or it will have a good benefit in the game, like you do, they'll be like,
Most of
You
our
know
examples
what?
come from fantasy.
I'm
High,
gonna
I'll tell you.
fucking allow it. It's not supposed to happen that way, but I think this is really gonna work out, so I'm gonna allow it if you can pass the roll. If you can't, then you're fucked.
Again, fucking fantasy high. So much with fantasy high. Who was that? You or Tank?
I think that was me. I
Trying to cast a spell to do something, and I
Because
looked
I
at the
didn't
spell.
read the description. I
Right.
read the name of it, and I was like, "Oh, I
And
can do this."
You told me the spell, and I looked it up, and I read the description, and then you told me what you wanted to do, and I was like, "That's for sure not how that spell's used, but we're gonna do it because it's cool,
I was like, "Oh shit!"
because it made sense."
Right.
And Drew was not true. Cool.
Tab, fucking boo!
Anyways,
Boo!
you were like, go ahead and roll for it.
When you're here, your family.
Talking about the queer club, not Olive Garden.
What the fuck?
When you're queer, you're
See, Olive Garden doesn't exist
Oh,
in
God.
Solace, so that Rob came up with that in there.
for the queer club.
But in our world, that is an Olive Garden slogan.
You see that just reminds me of an episode of Family Guy. They had to join the fucking
The
Coast
mascot,
Guard.
yeah.
It's like when you're
When
here,
you're
your family.
family.
Isn't that we had it first?
And then every time someone says it, they have to pop up in an Olive Garden
And
natty
a fuck ton of fucking pasta and
and
shit.
breadsticks.
At one point, I think Quagmire went to say it, and Cleveland shoots him. I'm not going back to that fucking restaurant.
Oh shit.
Player types?
Yeah, let's do that because I really haven't. I'm like you. I've only been under a couple of GMs.
Right.
Um,
I think.
Oh, one more.
Oh, you got one?
One more. The storyteller. That's the motherfucker.
Like the chick from Dimension 20?
Yeah, but
There's a comment. It says,
Always research spells. Those bitches backfire.
yes, they do.
Yes, because they're named
This says epically.
epically. A lot of them are named,
In
and
a
the name
confusing way.
sounds like you could do this, but then when you read the description, it's something completely fucking different.
Like, who would have thought something called Moonbeam would disintegrate a motherfucker?
You heard me.
I mean, yeah, it sounds pretty dope. Moonbeam. Usually,
Typically, if you say something about I seen a moonbeam, it's just the light coming down from the moon.
You would think it'd be like a healing spell, maybe,
Right.
because it looks so pretty.
Or like a fucking nighttime spotlight or some shit.
And always be careful who you
Always be careful who you shoot in the face. They just might be those who help you in the game at a later point. Yeah,
Shout out to
Greeny.
Greeny.
shut up.
Hang on.
How about you? Pistol whooping.
Why were you looking at me like that? Shout out to Wilbur,
What about the one
one
that
of the
you
LHR
pistol whooped?
legacies.
You don't get to bring that up. You weren't here for it.
Anyway,
We were all
getting
three
off
there
topic.
when you shot
We're
the dude in
getting
the
off
face.
topic. The storyteller is the one who basically just spends the majority of the game narrating shit. The players really can't be involved, or when they are involved, they don't really have many choices. You have to do what their story dictates. It's like, dude, you're not writing a game, you're writing a fucking book.
Right. Just off in the distance, just far enough where you can't hear it. There's a low growl.
By the way, I remember her name now. It's Abria, and I will cut her a little bit of slack on that. I'm not saying I agree with doing that, because I still think if the players have no chance of seeing or hearing something, why would you narrate it? However, I understand that she was just trying to build tension because it's a show. It's a D&D show.
Yeah.
I
I think we've only ever done one cutscene.
However, when the players are involved, from what I've seen, she's a very good GM.
Yeah, I think the only time we've ever done something like that was one time, and it was because you needed to get, you
That cliffhanger.
Yeah, and that was after we left Hell.
And I totally stole that idea from Abria, so I can't really criticize her
You're
too
like,
much.
now I don't do this often, but we're going to cut to a scene that none of y'all are going to know about right now. So this is just for your out-of-game knowledge.
Because I always try to end at a cliffhanger unless it's the finale.
And we didn't have a cliffhanger otherwise. So instead of having to, end it boringly and reveal that information later on, he used that cutscene to give us that cliffhanger where we were all like, no fucking way.
And I do the cliffhangers because it keeps you guys pumped for the next session.
It really does. Although sometimes they piss me off.
I like the game that we played with Wilbur when me and you were it was me, you, and
That fucking
It
imposter.
was supposed to be me, you, Wilbur, and who was the other one that played with us?
Was Nexus running
Yeah,
there?
Nexus was playing.
No,
with us.
Wilbur ran it. It was
Yeah.
me, him, and Nexus playing because we went and hung out with them when they were camping.
Nexus was talking to some other person when we were camping, and we were sitting there playing, and stuck in this thing because there was a bear, and
No, it was a
Wilbur was like-
bugbear.
Wilbur's like, "You guys hear this sound out in the distance?" And all of a sudden, because I had a Black Panther or whatever it was, was out freaking attacking them, and he's like, well, they're gone."
No. What that was Nexus's character got shit-faced in a drinking competition.
Oh, God.
And we tried to go get him so we could do something, right?
Uh-huh.
So he runs down the hall to another bathroom and locks himself in. But before he got there, while he was running, he was screaming, "Help! They're trying to me!"
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So we were trapped in this little hallway. We had this fucking bugbear and all the other fucking patrons of the bar coming in to fucking attack us, thinking we were attacking him. He's locked himself in the bathroom to count his money.
Tripping.
His panther had run out the back door because people were trying to come in at us that way. I was that homebrew elf race that I told you about. So I shapeshifted into my little wolf form, and we had to fucking fight off dudes because Nexus thought that was the right way to go.
What the fuck?
So
I've been a bugbear's junk off.
Me and Jay were sitting there fighting them off.
Oh, it was great.
Alrighty. Player types.
I think we should start with, as many as we can that we can reference from our group since they know
For sure.
who's in the group.
For sure.
So I'm going to let you start this
Okay.
because I started off the last one.
The first one, I'm stealing this directly from Seth. Again, is the Rage Monster. Which
Doyen?
No. Believe it or not, and no shame to no one because everyone mentioned as examples has improved significantly. I
Yeah.
cannot stress that
No,
enough.
no shame. We're just
But
giving
the two that come to
examples.
mind are you and Strife.
okay. When you said Rage Monster, I was thinking actually.
No, we're not
using
talking
rage,
We're not
that's-
talking characters. These are player
Okay.
types. Okay.
That's where I got thrown
Okay.
off.
So let me explain. I'll use the example from you and then the one from Strife. Okay. Now, once again, before I do this, they don't do this anymore.
Hang on, let me get out of camera frame.
Come on, no shame. Remember?
No shame on
Yeah, that's
So-
before I knew you were talking about me.
The first, there's two types of rage monsters. There's the ragey, like Berserker one, and then there's the passive aggressive one. You are the Berserker, okay? That's when something happens in game that player doesn't like, they take it personally and resort to screaming and shouting and cussing and stomping and at other players at the table.
Example, when I first started playing and I was playing a drow and Nexus was playing a race that was prejudiced to drows because of being enslaved by them. Anytime he would say anything or do anything about my character, I took it as him just picking on me as the new player. And I was like, well, fuck you, I'm going to do this.
Yep. And now
I want to formally apologize to Nexus, by the way. It was a long time ago, guys.
the passive aggressive rage monster.
Can do.
Huh. You can do the first example. Okay, so I need you to, you want to do that? I need you to roll athletics.
One.
People that can't handle failure, and if they do fail or something happens that they don't like, instead of standing and screaming and raging,
No, that's not the time I got a forehead stamp. We're not talking about that.
what happens is instead of blowing up on everyone, they just sit and they throw their hands up and they declare the rest of the game a wash. And then, all right, well, I need you to, well, what's the point? I'm just going to fail. You know?
Again, everybody has made an extreme
Oh, yeah.
amount of progress.
Strife doesn't do this anymore. He's a great fucking player. I love having him at my table. But he's the only one from my group that I remember stuff like that at the beginning happening. Same with you. You don't do that anymore, but at the beginning, I remember it happening. Other player types, shout out to Nexus. He doesn't do this much anymore, again, but rules lawyers. When I first started running, every single time I would make a ruling that didn't line up perfectly rules as written, he was quick to stop the game and let me know. Well, the book says this. Okay, well, I say we're going to do this. But the rules, the book says I can change the rules. Yeah, but again, he doesn't do this anymore. But
now he
that's a very
likes to find the
annoying thing.
loopholes
yes,
himself.
now he researches rules not to know them, but to exploit them.
In all technicality, it says I can do this, this, or this. So if I do it this way, it falls in line.
R.I.P. Johnny Spells. He died in his car with water in his lungs.
I'm sorry, I love how Nexus does his characters now.
Technically.
Nexus and Suicidal Queen love their technicalities, okay? I'm just going to put that on record.
Fair warning, if you ever play a game with them, you will fuck around and find out.
I started Technicality War with Suicidal Queen.
Oh, you're going to lose.
It was a long time ago. I went to the store. I was like, do you want anything, hun? She goes, just give me a Dr. Pepper. So I got her a 2-liter of Dr. Pepper.
She didn't say what kind.
I'm pretty sure she meant a 20 ounce out of the cooler.
She said, yes, we do. Oh.
Oh, shit.
All
okay.
right, so
Other player types.
Dice Fudgers.
Cheaters, you mean? That's another thing we'll get to later is cheating. Explain. Break down the let's just call them what they are. They're cheaters.
Which a lot of people start out doing that.
Now,
They do
If
improve
you
over
get
time.
caught cheating at my table, I will give you a warning. If I catch you cheating another time,
She said the
you
word.
will have very strict rules when it comes to dice and shit like that, and people will be watching you. And if you try to cheat a third time, you're out of my fucking game. I'm not going to play with you.
Yeah, we've had to monitor some people.
Anyway,
Basically, so when people fudge the dice, as we call it, they'll sit in a way to where when they roll it, as soon as it rolls down, they'll grab it before anyone else can see it.
or they'll have shit built around to where you
That way,
can't see.
yeah.
That or they'll roll it and then they'll wait for no one to pay attention and they'll flip it over to the number they want because I've seen it time after time.
And usually it's pretty much in their favor all the time.
Yeah.
And
it's normally newer players too.
Yeah. So when we notice that happening, we have to monitor. And so I think that's
It just
most
kills
of
the
why
fun.
you've made the rule. Anytime you roll, someone has to see it before you can touch
And
your
I
dice.
hate having to fucking police my players. But like I said, I try to be forgiving, so I have a 3-strike rule.
How I look at it is if you're coming to play and sit down playing this game, it's not only about the player, it is about the group. Because
Yeah.
if one person does that, then it screws the whole group. Because if you're sitting there messing with your dice and you do it to where you're going to concede at every single one, then that throws the whole game off.
Because nobody else gets the option to attempt.
Yep.
And, there's a lot of, most of us have learned by now that you get just as cool and funny moments from your failures as you do from your successes.
Yeah, because you can sit there.
Because not only does it give another player a chance to step in and say, well, let me help you, I'll try it. But perfect example of a hilarious failure that I caused. We were playing with the Nameless, and he tried to run away, and I was like, I think he passed his dex roll with like a nat 20 or some shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, the fuck he's not. He ain't running away. Poor 10, he rolled a 2. And he fell flat on his fucking face. And even though I fucked up his roll and he fell on his face, it was funny enough that even he was laughing about it. Most of us know by now your failures are just as good as your successions most of the time. And yeah, a lot of the times you get really hyped up and you fail and you're like, fuck. But usually the GM can put it into a way that it's still funny or it's still fun,
My way, basically what I like, even if you fail the roll, at least you fail it and then like the group gets to like, oh, let me try. Or, it's not all about failure. Yeah, sometimes it sucks that you fail your roll, but how I look at it is if you fail your roll, that's something the group, can mess around and joke with you about.
Right.
Like, it makes the game interesting.
Like when you fuck up and
But-
we all give you shit about it, it's because it was funny and it's a good memory.
How I look at it is you're not going to pass every roll. That's the point. It doesn't make it fun if you mess with your dice and make you succeed at every roll. If you fail, it makes the game interesting because, like, say you're going to attack this big guy and you're like, oh, I want to hit him, and you fail. Okay, yeah, you failed, but that makes the game more realistic to where it's like you have that chance of, oh, I can do it, I can hit him. Oh no, I didn't hit him. Maybe next time I can roll, and maybe my next roll is going to be more powerful and hit harder.
Right. Suicide Queen said, some of the greatest stories come from the fails. It also gives the group the comfort to know it's okay to fail. If you are taking those fails in stride and you're like, fuck, I failed, but you know what? It's all part of the game. Then she's right. It's showing the rest of the group, if they can be chill about that and they were really excited for that, I can be chill about it.
That's the thing. If you fail, that's what I get. Like, the game is not all about succeeding. It's about play it the way it's supposed to. If you roll and you fail, that's just the way the game's supposed to be. That's how it's.
Just like when you roll and you pass, especially if you get like a critical pass, like a nat 20, or if you're doing, say you're doing Call of Cthulhu and you roll a 1, you get so fucking excited. Then you're like, bro, check this shit out. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. And everybody's like, oh, you got it. Because the failures, not only are they just part of it, but they get you that much more stoked for the success.
That's another thing. Like when you make that pass and you do a nat 20 and it hits you and you're like, yeah.
Suicidal Queen, I can't count the amount of times I failed, but it taught me and I was able to learn, right? And when I first started playing, every time I'd fail a roll, I'd get pissed. And because, in this game, I knew, I get to do something cool where I can come up with cool shit and do whatever. And every time I wanted to do something cool, it felt like every time I wanted to do something, I failed. Every time.
That's how I felt.
And I got so mad. And then I learned, it's okay not to fucking pass it. It's okay to fail because always give someone else a chance. And it's going to get you that much more excited whenever you do pass on something cool in the future. And it took me a while to learn that one, I will admit. Now, I'm not sure what next he wants to talk about until he gets back. So, you got any ideas, chat? Strive's in. What's up, Strive? I'm off camera. I'm sweating.
Can you turn this off?
Not until he's out here to say it's okay.
Okay.
You, Suicidal Queen, Strife, Doyen, whoever's in the chat, y'all got any other player types you want to mention while we're waiting on Nitro's ass? Strife, I can't call right now, Bubs. Hang on. Hey, let me call you back. I'm on camera right now. Hello? Okay. I guess he heard me.
There we go. I don't like the player types that are sitting there and they feel like they're not part of the story based as much, and they get upset and pissed off.
See, like, that one's hard to do. Yes, people who, continuously throw a fit if they're not like the center of the story. Yes, that is a problem. It's like they're not getting to do something and they're not as involved.
Or when there is like a battle and like say a line of combat and then it goes you, me, and then like a couple other people and you hit that person and then I got a chance to hit that person and then the next two people didn't get to because me and you already killed them. Then they feel like, well, I didn't get it. It's how I look at it is there's going to be more combats in the game.
Strife wants to know if on the way back home, if we'll stop by Tink's mom's and grab their rolling stuff from Tink.
Sure.
But yeah, Suicidal Queen also said those I can do it all on my own. I don't need anyone else types. Yeah, that's another good one.
Like
it's always cool when you can do something epic yourself as a character, but that you never want to take away from the group aspect of the game.
Is she talking about like in combat or in a different way? Like what does she mean?
I'm pretty sure it's just in all of it in general, but hang on, what?
Woo. Shout out to Strife up in this bitch. Your fucking niece.
What she did.
So I take her in there. I turn on My Little Pony. I get her milk and cream. I get her some chocolate chip cookies. I sit her on the couch. I bring her little table up to it so she can sit down comfortably with her snack and her drink and her cartoons. I go make my cup of coffee. I'm about to come back out. I said, I love you. She said, I said, I love you. She goes, okay. Ain't that about a bitch?
That is some shit. So we finished up talking about, how important it is to accept the fails as well as the successes.
Yes.
And then, like I didn't want to bring up any specific ones in case you were wanting to bring up specific ones. So while we waited on you, I asked the chat if they had any they wanted to bring up. While we were waiting, we touched on people who continuously get mad if they're not the center of the game.
I don't think we've had someone like that in our group.
But it is a problem.
Yes. Not in our main group, but we have played with someone like that.
Yeah.
And I hate to do it to him because he's like a brother, and I love this motherfucker, but that's DL to a T. I'm sorry.
And then
DL wants to be the best at every situation.
Suicidal Queen just brought up one that we just started talking about, which is the I can do it all on my own. I don't need anyone else's help type of players.
Yeah, that's the same thing. It's the glory hog.
What's
Strife say there?
Don't sound so enthusiastic, because he had texted asking us for a favor, and I asked Greeny if he would mind, on our way back home. And Greeny's like, sure. So Strife said, don't sound so enthusiastic.
Greeny keeps getting cut out of the frame.
Suicidal Queen, trying to play with someone who wants to be the only one who the game is about and refusing to play as a group.
Yeah, I call that main character syndrome.
Yeah.
I can't stand that shit because gaming is a group effort, and it's not about you or me or him or her. It's about everyone.
We got 2 more comments. Suicidal Queen, those who are scared of a fight, the ones who immediately, whenever combat ensues, I'm going to turn around and run away.
Yeah, when they're not in combat, they're big and they're buff and they're talking about whooping ass.
Right. And then Strife just said, I'm tired of people who accuse me of purposely making overpowered characters, LOL. I mean, you do make some pretty overpowered characters.
Strife. I love you, homie. You're a bit of a power gamer, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what you enjoy doing. And I always at least try to find a way to make it work. And you have done some really badass things in our games because of it. So there's nothing wrong with being a power gamer. But you are indeed a power gamer, my friend.
Other types of players, the one who's always late.
Is it still politically correct to call them tardy?
Tardy.
We need to start taking roll call at the beginning of our games.
Jade here? Yep.
Tink? Nope, she's late again.
Damn.
Well, I guess we'll start at 3:00 today.
2 hours later. I don't do it on purpose, though. I'm
just that good. He says flexes. I love Strife.
Murder hobos.
Oh my god. Nameless.
If I can't kill everybody, it's not a good game type of mentality.
Or if I'm bored, I'll just kill somebody.
Why is Tink
taboo?
Why is...
Yeah, where is Tink? She's not in here. Nexus ain't in
She
yet.
texted me after I sent her the link saying, alrighty.
Nexus ain't in
She
yet.
texted me after I sent her the link saying, alrighty.
Did anyone?
She said, my bad.
What?
Tink said, my bad, so I guess she didn't mean to call or something.
Nexus just got home from work.
Cool. Tell him to jump up in this bitch. Because we're making fun of all of us today.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other
This
player
is like
types?
our wannabe roast session, man.
Right. Any other player types we want to go over?
Let's see. So what have we covered? We covered late players, dice fudgers, murder hobo,
Not
glory
edgelords.
hogs, edgelords.
Edgelords.
What's that?
Slick back. Edgelords are the ones that are the dark and brooding. They're basically Batman as a D&D character.
The ones
They're
that always-
lone wolf, and they got the tragic backstory. And
Like
they
if
don't
they're
get
playing
along with the rest
D&D,
of
they're
the
always
party.
a rogue that grew up on the streets, orphaned and fighting for their lives.
So you're saying my character that was on Wilbert's campaign, because that's how my character was.
Then yes,
I didn't
Oh,
want to
Greedy!
get around no one.
Edgelords play that every
all the time.
single
Every
game
character
they
is
play.
the same.
And then
No matter what system or game or campaign, they're all. If we're playing the Dare and it's Call of Cthulhu with pregens, they will make some way to make their
They have
Kid,
abusive parents.
the
or-
angsty, edgy teen.
like literally my character stayed to itself, and also if there was so many people around and that we were there was too many more than what I was in my group, then I would run away from the fight. That's how my guy
No,
was.
what
But
that
it was
was.
actually-
They're
is
more likely to take off on you while you're sleeping.
Oh.
You had a flaw in your background that you rolled up that told you if you are outnumbered, you will flee. What you were doing was playing that flaw in game properly. What an edgelord is somebody who is constantly the edgy, nervous, angsty, emo person.
I don't think I can add you to the thing once we're
I
rolling.
can try and we can try and either me or Greeny can pull him up on the video call and then he can be involved in the conversation if he wants.
That just seems like a lot of.
That's the only thing I can come up with.
What is that little thingy next to the?
I apologize.
What's that little thingy next to the microphone thing on the?
That
Tink should be in soon.
share.
Tink's here.
About time. We've only roasted you 47 times.
Yeah,
Everybody, it's our own resident late player.
she's always late to everything.
She'll be late to her own funeral.
Yep.
I've told her that to her face.
I told her she was late to her own birth.
Whoa.
I mean, she said I know. I mean, technically, I think I was by 2 weeks.
Ugh.
Okay. Any other player types before we move on?
And we're trying to keep it to people like shit we have experience with, right?
If we can, that way we have an example for
Right.
the viewers. Yes. If not, we'll just have to provide
Right, but
where it
but
comes from.
then if we haven't had firsthand experience, it kind of
Oh my god.
hang on.
What the fuck?
If we don't have firsthand experience with the player types, then it kind of comes across as us not knowing what the fuck we're talking about. What'd she say?
So you know how Suicide Queen just recently got that good bill of health?
Yeah, I just read it.
Yeah,
The fuck?
I'm so proud of you. It's okay.
Hey,
You're not gonna go.
guess
"Oh,
what?
no
Strife?
more.
Guess what, Strife? I have 4 kids to worry about.
See, his newest comments not on
not
mine.
popping up. And Annie's.
Already? Oh, I don't need to know that, Tank.
Yeah, Strife's latest
Strife, you
comment
should
ain't
go
on
deal
mine.
with that.
Hear me?
Yeah, I heard you 3 times.
You had to close
Well, there's not going on
YouTube and go back on it.
No, because everybody else is popping up.
Yeah, because you have it on top messages.
Usually, it shows me all of them.
See? You have to click all messages.
That's really weird. I've never had to change that.
I
before.
always have to.
Where
I've never had to. It's just automatically shown me each one.
Yeah.
That's weird.
there we go.
Okay. Any others?
You guys in the chat, you have any more player types you want to talk about before we move on? We're already done around
Newbies?
an hour. Greenies.
What?
10 years down the road, he's still going to be a part of the group, and he's still going to be
See,
greedy.
I don't consider newbies as a category because at one point or another we were all newbies.
I know one,
What?
and we already have an example in the chat.
Oh yeah? What?
Too many characters.
Oh my! Addicted to character creation.
Yes.
character creation
What up,
addicts,
Strife?
What up,
players
Strife?
that enjoy creating characters more than playing them.
Um,
Now, again, there's nothing wrong
No.
with that. We just like to poke fun.
Suicidal Queen said Nexus said whiners.
Ah, yeah, the powders, the crybabies. You want to break down some crybaby behavior?
Let me see here. Okay, example.
Ow.
Can I get a luck roll to see if I picked that up before, because I can't remember.
Sure.
We'll say low.
75.
That good enough?
Yeah. What do you think? Pretty accurate?
See, we should be doing skits, man.
No.
We can act this shit out all day.
I'm telling you, I'm not an actor.
Strife said, I don't do that. I can't help myself. Talking about the character creation.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong with enjoying character creation. Where it becomes a problem is when you're constantly trying to sacrifice yourself in order to bring in new characters.
Strive. It always makes me think of One Shot Quests or One Shot Quips or whatever his
Questers
name
or-
is now.
Duke.
Yeah.
I'll be like
This. Oh man, I died. Oh man, I've been waiting to bring in this backup character.
Or is there any
Will
way
you
we
get me a
can,
couple here and there?
kill off this character? Because I'm really excited about this other one.
Or, oh man, I have a feeling this might be a TPK. Good thing I made us all backup characters. Oh, that's great.
All right, so are we moving on from those?
We've talked about a lot of negative player types. Any positive ones?
I
Like
do.
our favorites?
I do.
What's your
The
favorite?
prepared player.
Not overly prepared, but prepared.
The one that shows up with their character sheet already in order. They know what spells they want. They know what they've been doing in
They
between
got the
sessions.
handbook ready to
They
go.
remember key points from last session. They
Got
take
multiple
notes.
sets of dice. That way, if they need to roll up extra damage or bonus or whatever, they're
Sometimes, depending on the campaign, they'll have a backup character like Strife.
Mm-hmm. Strife said, well, think about this. If you had looked over the race I wanted to use for Fantasy High when I asked.
Do you
Yeah,
not
but-
understand how much work I was doing to even get that campaign ready? You wouldn't want to add more shit to it either, my friend.
Oh, we were going to ask if it was going to be all right to kick that heat off for a minute.
Give me a second. I got to twist this up before it dries out.
Right.
Don't want it cracking and shit.
You know who else I consider not necessarily negative, but more of a positive type? Dice Goblins. Because, yeah, it eats them up. They have way too many dice, but they're always one of the most helpful players at the table. Because if you're rolling up a fuck ton of damage or something, they're like, yo, I've got you. I have plenty of dice.
I've got to step in here, okay?
That was weird.
There is no fucking such thing as too many dice. Do I fall under Dice Goblin? I got
think
that
so.
big ass spell book full of them. And that's not even all. Yeah, and that's not even all my dice. I have a separate chest.
Skorkowski set, man.
I do. I have Seth Skorkowski's dice. I have Cyberpunk dice. I have Cthulhu.
That
two
is
sets
a
of
good
Call of Cthulhu
positive
dice.
one, Suicidal Queen.
What?
The players who bring snacks knowing it's going to be a long game.
Fuck yes.
Bro.
Well, clarify. They bring snacks for the party, not just for
Nexus
themselves.
agreed. Yeah, usually I think everyone brings their own at our games.
Yeah.
But then every now and then you got someone coming in with like a fuck ton of shit for everybody. Like when someone brings in pizzas or something.
Well, that's I used to every game day we would do pizzas and shit but and hell when Slickback was playing, we got pizza and wings because he'd go half on it with me.
Right. I know ever since you stopped being able to do the pizzas, me and Greenie have been trying to contribute pizzas as often as we can afford it.
Yeah. simply because it's a tradition at this point.
But the thing is, I'm a broke ass bitch, and I didn't
Same.
make that
That's why I
much.
can't do it anymore.
I didn't make that much working there, so therefore I did what I could.
Same.
Suicidal Queen, Dice Goblin, looks at Nexus. It gets expensive. LOL.
Yeah,
You don't
Dice
have to tell
Goblin.
me.
I am not a Dice Goblin. I'm a box goblin. We have an overabundance of cardboard boxes.
No, the
right
last time we went to that one place, can't remember the name of
Castle
it.
Perilous.
Yeah, you're like, oh babe, look at those. That one too. And
Right,
that one.
but how many of those sets did she buy?
She bought 2 sets. She gave me.
Then she's not a dice
The
goblin.
very first time
Because
I
we
took
couldn't
him, we
afford it.
bought 2 sets of dice. We bought one for him and one for me because that was before I got my box of gaming stuff from you, and I had the rest of the stuff.
Unless it was a certain set, like my Cthulhu set, my Nyarlathotep set, my Alien set, unless it was one of those, every time I buy dice, it's no less than 10 sets at a time.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You want to keep calling me a Dice Goblin?
Yeah, but wait until we can afford stuff. You're gonna be like, babe, all those dice I wanted.
And my
Like-
metal dice, I got one set at a time.
Dude, I'm gonna get the ones that you take and you put in the case and they glow.
They make LED light up dice now.
I know I won't.
Where
I
the
said
numbers
it.
light up.
Strife, I missed that store. Suicidal Queen, Gooberbutt has an addiction to mini dice.
Yeah.
I want to get
She's gonna fit
the.
right in with
she's
the rest
training.
of the legacies.
And you know they got these dice now that you can get and it goes into a little box and it charges them
Mhm.
and they're blank until you put them in the thing and then when you roll them it pops up the number.
That's pretty dope.
All our kids are gonna be grown. We're gonna be old, and we're gonna be like, well, why don't we're gonna be talking to our kids? Why don't y'all come over for dinner this weekend?
You wanna
And they're
crack
gonna
that
go,
door?
I can't.
Oh, let me cut this heater off.
It's game night at so and so's house. And we're gonna be like, I'm so proud,
Not only that, we're gonna
No, we're gonna be like, can I come?
right?
we're gonna be
Do
the
you
ones,
have room for another player?
we're gonna be the ones that have all these dice from us playing and collecting them over the time to where they're gonna be
Just
like
pass them down to the
they're
kids.
gonna be like, Mom, Dad, I got these dice and we're gonna be like, well, here's our dice, we don't play anymore.
Who the fuck are you talking
Right?
about?
No, when
I'm gonna
I
play till I die.
So
when
you're
I
gonna
die,
play-
I'm gonna have in my will who out of my kids gets what sets of
Dude,
dice.
I'll be senile as fuck trying to run a campaign.
So you're
I'll be
gonna-
like, okay. You walk into the forest. You see bright stars all through the dense trees.
and then all of a sudden,
A root comes up at your face. What? Did you say I saw the stars through the tree? So it's winter? No. You can't even see the sky.
Even
Grandpa.
Even better. It's gonna be. All right. So what are you doing? I'm entering the tavern. Okay. What are you doing? I just told you I'm entering the tavern, Grandpa.
Right. What's
So
the
what-
tavern?
Yes, exactly.
the trees are swaying.
Nexus,
What?
let's
I thought it
talk
was in the
about
cabin.
players who loan out books or talk about players that loan out books or help other players with that with what the
With what they can't do.
Okay. The fucking heart button's right there.
Yeah.
so half part of the comments get cut off. Oh. Yeah, I think we touched on that earlier a little bit about when we were talking about the social contract.
Suicidal Queen says, does this help to see? I know if you close the chat and then you reopen it, it moves the subscription only mode messages and
Yeah, that's not the problem I'm having.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think we touched a little bit on what Nexus is talking about when we were talking about the social contract.
Mm-hmm.
About how great it is when people take that initiative to help out the new players or other players who might be struggling.
I just want to shout out players that buy books in general, because for the longest time I had the only copy of any book. And
For the
it's a pain
longest
in the
time-
ass having to pass my book around, and then I need to reference something and I can't. Or hell, my Pulp Cthulhu book, I have to get a new one because I had it out on the table and one of the pages got fucked up. So
I think for after a while, it got to a point where you'd hand me, if we were doing D&D, you'd hand me your player handbook, and I was in charge of looking shit up for everyone at the table. And then if you needed something looked up that didn't necessarily give too much away, you'd just ask me, or you'd say, hey, hand me the book for real quick. Go through it. All right.
yeah.
Because I was like right there. So I was in charge of anytime anyone needed to look something. Hey, what does such and such spell do? Okay, hang on.
So
No, we have our
again,
own
shout
book.
out to them, because now I have multiple players that have their own books.
We have a player handbook
So that's
for
great.
D&D 5e. That's
Even
about
though
it.
we're going into Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, no, okay, well, I can't afford anything else right now. It's going to have to wait just a little bit.
I'm pretty sure Tink and Strike got a Call of Cthulhu handbook.
They do. They have an investigator handbook.
Mm-hmm.
Is playing games still going to happen?
You mean with us? Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I just got to finish getting my house picked up and in order and shit. And please believe we will be doing Two-Headed Serpent. I've been wanting to do that for like 4 fucking years now.
Right. What about the players who come to the game knowing their characters as well as they know themselves?
We've already touched on that. Prepared players.
Yeah. How about method actors?
No.
Yeah.
No. No.
Yes.
No. Ain't gonna be no Jared Leto's up in this bitch.
No Robert Englund's.
No, thank you. I don't like method actors.
And we have a Call of Cthulhu and Pulp book, he said.
Boom.
There you go.
So, we're going to go ahead and move on now because we're already over an hour in. And we've only touched really on 2 things.
There's a lot of different types to go through.
There
Like,
since we kind of alluded to it, we'll do this one. And then we'll move up to this one.
okay.
All right. So, next on the docket is metagaming. We kind of touched on that a little when we talked about viral.
Yeah.
So, is metagaming bad?
It depends on how you're metagaming.
What is metagaming?
Metagaming is when you're using outside knowledge you have as a player in game.
To determine your actions in game.
Right. And, there's bad metagaming, but there can also
We'll be
be
getting
good
to that in a
metagaming.
minute, Nexus.
We're going to get that.
Yeah, but we'll be going more in depth on it here because there's more than just dice fudging involved in that topic.
Suicidal Queen tiptoes to pet the pretty kitty.
That fucking imposter.
Gotta find that asshole.
All right. So, I fully believe there are good and bad versions of metagaming. We've already hit on an example of good metagaming.
I think you've had to fucking save my ass with a luck roll because I didn't realize I was metagaming.
Yeah, a couple of times actually.
Yeah. Like we were playing Call of Cthulhu and me and Tink were in a car that went off the road and we started getting submerged in this lake. And I thought I was being smart. I was like, yo, don't open the doors or the windows yet. Wait till the car fills up, then we'll get
Now,
out.
keep in mind, she has already established that this character doesn't know much about cars. Continue.
So I was like, if you try and, open the doors or anything right now, pressure's going to hit us harder. You need to let it submerge and then we'll get out so we're safer. And she's like, oh, does your character know that? I went, fuck! He's like, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a luck roll. I'm going to roll it up here. You're going to tell me high or low. And if it passes, your character has at least that knowledge. I'm like, okay. And luckily I passed it. Or else that would have been
Granny looks
bad.
horrified.
I'm just listening.
He always looks like that. I think it's partially because he married me.
Maybe.
Okay.
Let's see. What's a bad example of, or what's an example of bad metagaming?
I can give you one right now. Again from Fantasy High.
We have many war stories from Fantasy High.
Before Tank's back. Before I go into it, I just want to say shout out to Tank. I love you, nephew. Nothing personal. But this one is one that really gets under my fucking skin. And luckily I haven't encountered it that many times. But Tank did it toward the end of sophomore year. He had betrayed the party. He had gone off with the villains. But I couldn't really let the players know what the villains were doing. So I was like, how about this? You just come sit over here, and once we get to the finale, we'll reintroduce you, you know. So he sits down.
I know what you're talking
And I
about.
look over, and Tank is reading through my fucking notes to see. And I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, I only read the parts about me.
What is one of the number one rules of gaming?
Don't look behind the screen.
We were like, dude, seriously?
Good, like right there in front of me. The kid had balls. I'll give him that.
Right?
All right. How about you, Greenie? You ain't talked much. You
Yeah.
got an example of bad metagaming for us?
No.
No.
I can think of now.
Take it away.
Okay.
I know you got like 17, but keep it to one.
All right. The problem is I'm having a hard time coming up with a specific example of something we've done.
Well, how about this? Break it down, and I'll see if I can think of one.
Okay. Say you're playing a campaign that's based off of a show or a book that you like, you know, that the GM has, you know, in the show or the book that this particular character turns out to be a bad guy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet this character. Your character has no idea who this fucking NPC is. This is the first time they're meeting him. You as a player, you're like, I know what this guy turns out to be. So you in game try to say, I know what you're up to, and I'm not gonna let you do it. And you start trying to fight him. And the GM's like, hold on. What basis do you have for that? You know?
Two things.
Be
Another
more
thing
of the
is,
latter.
even then, it partly the GM's fault for taking the story beat for beat anyway. Right? Now, what I will say as far as that is, and I can't prove that I have any examples for this one, so I'm not going to point one out, but I do know it happens, is when the GM goes, okay, we're going to run Curse of Strahd, for example.
And they go watch
and
a
they
walkthrough
go out
or read
and
the
buy
book.
Curse of Strahd and read through it, or watch a playthrough on YouTube or something. Or like players that look through the monster manual to get stats on the shit they're fighting, you know, shit like that.
Oh, example of, you know, kind of what I was talking about would be this Stranger Things campaign I'm putting together. You
see what Stripe said?
Yeah.
This is why playing SCP is going to be hard.
You've seen the Stranger Things show.
Yeah, one sec. Let me address him real quick, though. Depending on what class you take, Strife, that knowledge of lore could help you, or you would have to act. Depending on what class you choose, is whether or not you can use some of that information. Because if you play like one of the researchers or like one of the what are they called? The foot soldier people, the ones that go out on field agent work.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
Like if you would play one of those, then you would have some of that information.
Yeah.
But if you're playing like a D class or a civilian or something, then you would have to, you know,
like a janitor or some
Right.
shit.
What are you guys talking about?
SCP.
What's that?
Anyway,
We had the same conversation the last time we were here, just saying.
we talked about it on sit down last
And
week.
you asked what it was, and we pointed out the poster and went through it.
Yeah, I know.
What different anomalies can do.
And a good example of what I was trying to get at as an example would be this Stranger Things campaign I'm putting together.
But no, you cannot play an anomaly. That's against the rules.
You, me, Greenie have all watched Stranger Things very thoroughly. I'm recommending all of my other players watch it at least once, to get an idea of the kind of mindscape, that you're going to be experiencing. I am personally instead of changing the story, doing like a spinoff. We know this. What would be metagaming in that sense would be, say, you encounter the Demogorgon, right? We've already established y'all's parents ain't told y'all shit. Y'all don't know shit. No, you don't know any of it. Y'all don't even play D&D. Y'all play Call of Cthulhu in that game. But if one of y'all was to go, oh, guys, that's a Demogorgon. We need fire. Let's go.
That's metagaming.
That is bad metagaming.
I'm sorry about this, y'all.
You're good. Strife said it's called a mobile task force.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but for example, if you were to play one of those, or like one of the researchers, or one of them, then you would have some of that background knowledge that but if, like I said, if you're playing a decap class or a civilian or something like that, you wouldn't know.
Again, hyping my own game here. Another example of that is
like that paper you gave me with the names and shit.
Yeah,
I haven't even looked at. I'm waiting until we come across one, and then I'll open it.
Right. The Stranger Things game we're going to be doing. Nitro's character, yes, he plays one of the kids from the show. They all do.
I play one of the kids from the show.
Yeah. None of them have any knowledge of anything their parents went through. They kept that hidden from their kids. But they all play Call of Cthulhu in this game. Nitro's character is the gamekeeper in their group. So even though he doesn't have any actual real-world knowledge of what's going on, he has a little bit of the knowledge from the game, enough to say, oh, well, this acts kind of like this creature from this game that we play, so let's call it this.
Right. And like she said, we'll be using terms from Call of Cthulhu because that's what our characters play.
Right. So we won't be using like Demogorgon, Mind Flayer.
They'll be different.
Vecna.
It'll be like the same type of creatures, but they'll be called something.
The creatures in the game will be the same as from the show. Yeah. They'll look the same. They'll act the same. They're just being called by.
We're just using different names
because they're different kids who play a different system.
And since we don't know about the history of the shit, then we have no reason to know about their D&D counterparts.
Exactly. Or any reason to know, what kind of stuff they can do or any of that until they experience it.
Star vampire. All right. Examples of good metagaming.
Again, going back to Viral, that example of good metagaming in that one was when you broke the fourth wall to let me know, like, hey, if you quit the show right now, you can't play anymore because you have to go through with this live stream in order to play the game. That's the whole premise.
I had to do the same shit with DL when we were playing the Lost Expedition.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you or Greenie had played, so I might could run that for y'all at one point. So basically, spoiler alert, at the beginning of the adventure, there's this portal, right? Like a Stargate type shit that they're like being drawn to when they fail a POW check, right? So I have them roll a hard POW. Everyone fails except DL. So everyone's mesmerized and walking to her, and DL's like trying to wake motherfuckers up. So he gets a little closer, and I'm like, okay, now roll an extreme POW check. He fucking passed it. So now he's trying to push people away from it. And I was like, okay, last chance. Extreme power check with the disadvantage roll. Penalty die. And he still fucking passed it. Now, in order to go on this adventure, you have to go through that portal. And he's like shooting grappling hooks, trying to block off the shit so no one goes through. And I understand from his character's perspective why he was
Like,
doing
he don't
that.
know what's happening.
Right.
He just knows all his friends
Fully
are getting
in
fucking
character.
brainwashed and shit.
But eventually I had to be like, bro, do you want to play the adventure or not?
There you go. Wait, what?
He's like, my character does. I was like, if you want to play, you have to go through this portal. And he goes,
It's just like the.
so that was metagaming fully.
But
But without it, the game would have been over in an hour.
Before I
That's
respond
just like
to Stripe's
the,
comment.
Hang on.
Fantasy High part where we had to go through the portal to get to the forest or whatever.
Yeah,
What's his name?
the Briarwall.
What's his name? Did not want to go through the portal. I forgot which one it was. They didn't want to.
No, that was when we were going to hell.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but one of them was like, I don't trust that shit.
I think it was Gardy. Y'all asked Gardy to go with you, and he didn't want to leave the Gold Gardens.
I thought it was one of the players. Because I thought it was.
No, I think everyone was there.
Yeah, because we all went as a group, and they were like, brought all your fucking friends. Before I respond to Stripe's comment, I want you to read it.
Okay.
And no, I'm not happy about that because I would prefer before we play that campaign for whoever's playing to watch the show at least once. Because even though you're not going to have that knowledge going into it, it gives you a good preparation and gets you in the mindset of the setting. Like, that's like when we were getting ready to play. Was it the Dare we were getting? No, I need a good example.
I couldn't hear you. I was
Talking about, watching something to get you in the mindset of the setting of the campaign. I'll use the Dare. When we were going to play the Dare for Call of Cthulhu, Nitro told us, watch like Poltergeist and the Goonies and stuff like Monster Squad. That way you can get in the mindset of the spooky setting and the kids involved.
I told everyone the same thing when I ran Alien for the first time. I told them to watch Aliens.
Right.
There was another one.
I was trying to
Viral. I gave everyone a list of movies to watch for Viral.
I was trying to come up with one that Strife has played as an example, but I can't think of one.
The only other one that comes to mind.
Oh, I got it.
I don't want people to watch if they already haven't yet, and that's the thing.
I got it. When we were getting ready to play Fantasy High, and Nitro said, "Hey, Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Do you want to play D&D mixed with Harry Potter? If you haven't already seen or the movies or read the books, you don't really get, what he's getting at when he says D&D mixed with Harry Potter." But having had that knowledge going in, even though it's not the same, you still have that preparation of your mindset. Like, okay, we're going to be fucking teenagers going to school, learning magic and shit. This is going to be dope.
Yeah, and I'm the one that has the flying car.
No.
Mine's not a flying car; it's a boat.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm the one that Nitro said can't get any more shit. He said I have too much. Fun fact, I was told by Nitro that the only member of our group that would be able to go hand to hand with me because of the shit that I have, go one-on-one with me and take me down, would be Strife because of his Sword of Seacaster and his tattoos.
You talking about when Strife when Zandre almost killed Cerberus?
No, I was telling him, Because when I made the comment about Harry Potter, he was like, and I'm the one with the flying car, only instead of flying, it's a boat.
And it's not a car, it's a van.
And, but we were talking, and I was like,
And it's alive.
I'm the one with too much shit. Nitro said I couldn't have any more. I told him, he told me that the only one that would be able to, go against me one-on-one out of our group because of all the shit I have would be Strife because of his sword and his tattoo.
Yep.
So, don't forget my other sword, he said. No offense,
Yeah, he
dude.
has Fandrangor too, doesn't he?
No offense, dude, but I think your tattoo just does more damage.
Imagine. Okay. What was his starting class?
Was it a fighter?
I think it was. You started as a fighter, right, Strife? I think so. Fighters get extra attacks the higher the level goes.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine he gets 3 attacks around. He's got Fandrangor in one hand, Sword of Seacaster in the other, and those tattoos.
Right, and he ain't got to free up his hands for the tattoos. He just has to do like that.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing
Ranger.
I'm the fighter.
Yeah, Abra's
Abra's
the fighter. My bad. I mixed
It's
up.
hard to keep
You're
track.
both Dragonborn, okay?
Yeah, and it's hard to keep track anymore because we're all multi-class now.
It is. Did that sound racist?
I don't think I'm multi-class.
Huh?
I don't think my character's
Yep. Fighter and artificer.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorcerer and bard.
Tink is fairy.
No,
Fairy's
that's a race.
She's rogue and cleric.
Yeah, rogue, arcane trickster, and cleric.
Arcane trickster is a subtype.
Yeah, but I always label it because there's different, types of rogue.
Well, then you need to list everyone else's subclass too.
I don't know everybody else's subclass.
Well, see, you're singling her out. That's not right. That's
Anyhow,
nepotism.
Tim is barbarian and rogue, and I'm pretty sure he did so that he could get a couple of spells.
I don't know. I have to ask Dorian. Is he still in here?
I don't know, but
I haven't
Strife
seen
said
him
he's
in a while.
multi-classing next year.
Oh. He's going to full out monk, I believe.
Talk to you while
Okay.
Okay.
With me now?
Let's see.
Well, here, we'll just move on to the next
Yes.
category here. Cheating. Dice fudging. We've
There's-
covered a few of them.
There's dice fudging. There's reading or the books or watching the
Looking
reviews.
behind the screen.
You're going to play before you play it, so you know what's happening. Looking behind the GM screen to see what changes he's made, to see what's coming up.
Conveniently forgetting to note damage you've taken or items you've used or spell slots you've used.
Or gold that you've
limitation-
used.
Or not paying attention to the limitations of certain spells or abilities.
Trying to roll up your characters with the wrong shit to
Yeah.
overmax yourself.
Okay, yeah, that there.
And
I
I'm
will
not
say-
talking about doing it on accident. I'm
But
talking about
because
doing it on
Strife
purpose.
didn't mean to do that.
No, I wasn't talking about him. I'm talking about, that's an example of a way you can cheat.
Funny story. Strife was at the table rolling up his stats with a D20.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I got a 20. I'm like, how? And I'm a newbie. I'm like, how?
I was
And I'm
like, the
like-
highest you could get is 18. And he's like, I was like, no, bro, you roll the D6s. It was funny. I don't mean to make fun of you, but that's funny.
What's funny is every time we go to roll up a character, and Greeny, I don't know how to do this. Honey, we've done this a few times now. This is what you do.
That's why I try to do one-on-ones for character creation with everyone.
Have fun,
That
because
way,
that'll be
not
every
only-
time you create a character with him.
That's how I prefer it. And I prefer it that way for 2 reasons. One, it makes sure that they understand how these things are used and what they mean. And 2, it gives me an idea of who that character is.
I'm not talking about it'll be
Strike
every
said,
time
"Leave
you
me
have to
alone."
one-on-one. I'm saying be prepared, because every time you one-on-one, he's going to say, I don't know how to do that. Every fucking time, no matter how long he does it.
Strife
He does
said,
it with
"Leave me alone."
everything.
Dude,
He said, leave me alone.
Now, purposefully misrolling. fudging your dice at the table, looking behind the screen, prepping yourself by reading the books or watching the reviews. Talking to players who have played the game before and asking them what to expect, which that one falls on both them and
Or
the ones
jumping
that
in a
played it
campaign
before.
that you have played before and not telling the GM that you've played it before.
Right.
Or when they ask if you played it before, you just lie and say no.
And because then when something comes up that you have to have a specific solution for and you just automatically have it, it's kind of a giveaway that you're cheating.
Anyways, so how do we handle cheaters?
Penalty.
I have a 3-strike system. If you get caught cheating in any
Can
way,
I trade you on?
no.
You don't smoke
This
roll.
is literally all I have, and I'm not doing rollies. No, thank you.
Figured asking to trade was better than just asking to take.
Not when you're trading horse shit for good shit.
It's not my fault I'm broke.
I'm broke.
We're all broken.
Anyway,
We're not broke in, we're just broke.
we have a 3-strike system in our group. If I catch you cheating in any way, the first time you'll be given a warning. You'll be called out in front of everyone, which is pretty fucking embarrassing. Catch you a second time, you will have very strict rules applied to you. Everyone will be watching your dice rolls. You know you're not allowed to touch the fucking dice unless someone is looking. Like, we watch you like a motherfucking hound dog. And then if I catch you cheating again after that, you're booted from my group. I don't want to play with you.
You also have a 3-strike rule with your penalties.
And and the only reason I do that because a lot of people, again, like Seth, if he catches you cheating one time, you're out. He's not. But I try to be forgiving. I'm thinking, well, most of the people I have caught are fairly new. They don't understand why it's taken as seriously as it is by the rest of the party. So I try to give them a couple of chances. But if I catch you 3 times, then you're not.
Especially if it's in the same
But
fucking
now,
game.
Right.
But the
Back to
thing is,
back.
now that we've all been playing for a while, it's different now. You should
Well-
know what's cheating, and you should know what to do and what not.
Well,
to
it's
do.
not only they know they're cheating, that's why they try to hide it. The fact of the matter is they don't understand why cheating is bad. Like they think it's no big deal. It's just a game. What's the big
No,
deal?
because
But you don't understand.
It affects every other player.
Not only that, but we put a lot of fucking work into this shit. And for you to just act
See,
like it
it
doesn't
was-
matter is like a slap in the face, not only to the GM, but also to the other players that aren't cheating and are earning everything. And they're just watching you fly through.
The ones that have put in the work to get the knowledge and
I look at it as if there's one person cheating in the game, it basically corrupts the whole game. It's basically like putting a cheat code in a game. Once you put it in, it ruins the whole game.
it's one of those
it
one bad
ruins the
apple
whole-
ruins
That's-
the whole bunch.
That's why a lot of video games now have put hacks in the game so that if you try to put a cheat code in, it glitches the fucking game.
That's why I hate. That's why
I found that out the hard way a few years back. I got a Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare for the first time, right? And I was getting chased by a horde of zombies and I had no ammo. So I was like, what the fuck do I do? And I found an unlimited ammo cheat on IGN. And I was like, boom! And I put it in and it worked. I had unlimited ammo. And all the zombies became immortal and invisible. So I couldn't see them. And they were coming. And no matter how many times I shot them, they weren't going down.
So you were just gonna keep dying.
Yeah, over and over because
found they bypassed it.
it's to discourage you from cheat codes.
See, that's why any kind of hack that I want to do in a game is one that's already in the game. I don't do like my cheat codes and shit. Like Skyrim, I found a little thing in Skyrim where there's this one Khajiit trader that every time she respawns, her chest reloads and her gold reloads. And her chest is far enough away from her that you can open it. It's not labeled as steal from, it's labeled as open and take all of her gold, leave for so long, come back, and when she's back, her gold's back.
And you still have it too?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty
So you
dope.
just get to keep reloading all that fucking gold.
That's pretty dope. Okay. Yeah, so there's really nothing else to say about it. I have a 3-strike rule when it comes to cheating. If I catch you 3 times, I don't put up with it. You're out of my game.
Right.
I'm not going to play with people that don't take it seriously. Anyway.
Just like with the penalty and inspiration system. With the penalties, if you get 3 penalties in one game, you're out of the entire fucking campaign, not just the session.
Greeny, which one do you think we should tackle next? This one is going to, the bottom one is last. But other than that, which one of these do you think we should tackle next?
Players versus GM.
Ooh, it's a good one.
Which one?
The player versus GM mindset. The people that come in with a mentality that the person on the other side of the screen, no matter which way you're looking, is the enemy and to be beaten.
Now, okay, that the wording of this topic brings up a very good question that I've wanted to ask you for a while.
Yes.
You've said you have more experience as a GM than a player.
At this point, yeah.
But so how does that affect when you go into play? Do you have to like forcibly remember that you're in the mindset of a player?
Yeah,
do you automatically go in with GM mindset?
I completely have to reroute my entire fucking thinking process.
Because you start looking at it from a GM perspective.
Always. And then like when we did Wilbur's game, both sessions I've played so far, the entire way over there, I was watching Seth Gorkowski videos on how to be a good player just to get back into that mindset.
You're like, I'm a player, damn it, I'm a player.
Right.
Just like I've been watching Seth
it-
Gorkowski about how to run a game to get into that mindset.
And what really makes it hard is when we're at the table, we're in game, and then someone has a question about a ruling, and they look at me and they ask me, and I'm like,
I'm a
dude,
player.
he's running it, not me. I'm not stepping on his fucking toes. Now,
Right.
if he were to look at me and be like, hey, Nitro, how would you handle this situation? Sure, I'll give you my input.
Which I think he's done a couple of times.
Right. But other than that, no, he makes the rulings in this one, not me. I'm
Right.
not the GM this time.
See, I try not to do that. Now, I will say if we're playing in his game and he's busy, trying to figure something out, and I have a question about a mechanic, then
Yeah,
I'll look
that's
at
a little
you
different.
or Nexus and I'll be like, yo, how do I do this again?
It's Wilbur.
Wilbur!
Whoop, whoop. Shout out to a motherfucking legacy.
Legacy and a GM.
Legacy.
We were discussing
Your game.
a player versus GM mindset, which kind of cannonballed off topic into a whole different discussion.
I
But
think we do that quite a bit.
me when I just wake up. So basically, it's that mindset when a player looks at a GM as an adversary or vice versa instead of trying to cooperatively tell a great story.
Which I will say the mindset fluctuates with that a lot of times in our games because the GM is not just playing the BBEG or the villains. He's also playing the NPCs that are your allies or your parents
Or the
or
randos.
your romance interests or your shopkeepers. So it's
I
like
play everyone that you don't.
right. So you're going back and forth between, okay, I want to kill this guy to, okay, I want to take my friend to lunch to, okay, I need advice to, okay, I need a weapon. So like the fluctuation of the mindset.
Am I
from player
decent at
to-
doing that, by the way?
You are. And like what I really like is you do the different voices.
Yeah.
That way you can tell the difference between each characters. Because I've noticed in watching videos, because like I don't just watch YouTube full length.
Right.
I'll watch a lot of like shorts or TikToks or Facebook Reels. But because I do a lot of gaming stuff, that's a lot of my recommended shit is gaming. And a couple of the people that I've seen just, recommended stuff, the DMs will just talk in their normal voice for every fucking
Yeah.
person. And I'm like, I couldn't do that
I'd be
because
confused
I'd be
of
sitting
who
there
was
trying
talking.
to figure. I would be constantly, wait, who's saying that? Because there's like 6 other NPCs in this room aside from our group, and I need to know who's talking to me right now. Whereas you'll go like you have one voice for Gorthalax, one
Mhm.
voice for Sandra Lynn, one voice for Mac, one voice for Vraz, and even if you don't do a completely different accent or tone or voice mimic, what you'll do is you'll do different inflections.
Mhm.
Like you'll put emphasis on different words. That way it's obvious who you're talking to. Like Ida, You can't do women's voices. You don't do women's voices
not
like that.
very.
But it's easy to tell if you're talking to Braz, Sandra Lynn, or Ida, because Sandra Lynn's like, okay, well, this is what we've got to do.
She's normally
This
very
is
calm, collected.
how we handle it. Ida's like, I feel like this. Is this normal? And then Raz is, well, if you fucking shut up, like there's a fine difference between each character, even if they don't have their own set voice.
Right. I think my two favorite ones to do are Bill and Galir.
Galir, when he found that loophole, man.
I like doing Galir.
Now, how would you explain a GM mindset?
We're not talking Halo, Wilbur. What?
How would you explain a GM's mindset? Because out of everyone on the show right now, you're the only one with that experience.
So, like, you mean what kind of mindset I try to go into every game with?
When you're running instead of the few occasions you're playing.
So, there's three main things circulating in my brain. Three main categories, I'll say. Because there's a whole bunch of shit I got to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I try to separate into three categories. Okay? The first one is I need to know the material. I need to know it frontward and backward. If there's a few sections that I'm kind of in, if I know it well enough or not, I make sure it's highlighted. That way I can easily reference it. I need to make sure, I need to make sure I have access to the information I need regarding the players. So it's just info organizing, basically. Okay. The second is my main priority, which is making sure that you guys are entertained at all times. From the time we start to the time we wrap up, I need to make sure everyone at that table is having fun, because if not, at least a portion of that game is deemed a failure in my eyes. So I need to make sure everyone feels included, no one's left out, and if we're doing a scene that everyone's not involved in, that it's interesting enough to where all the other players are focused in. Right? That's number two. Oddly, I don't go in any specific order. And then number three is humility. Trying to remember that my job is not like as an authority figure. I don't have all the answers. I don't get to punish players, quote unquote, for misbehaving.
You're not a deity type thing.
Right.
No God.
My job is simply to provide the experience and let you make of it what you will. That's what I go in with.
I like the way you put that,
All right. What kind of mindset do you go in as a player?
For me personally, it depends on the game, because I try and go in putting myself into my character's mindset. Like the ride here, I'll be prepping in my head, okay, how would Bex react to this? What happened last session? Stuff like that. That way when we get here and we start, I'm full mode in character, playing the shit, doing what needs to be done.
How snarky is Elizabeth feeling today?
Right. But like, see, because that portion varies game to game, because you're not always playing the same characters. You're not always in the same situations. You never know what's going to come next. So you've always got to be prepared. Other than that, it's always the mindset of, okay, be respectful, know what you're doing. Don't take too long making decisions. Don't sidebar too much. Make sure, if I'm not paying attention, I focus up. If I get distracted, I need to, jump right back onto what we're doing.
Right.
Don't get pissy with other players for trying to do something that you thought you wanted to do, type thing.
Or something you just think is a bad idea in general.
Yeah. Now, there's a few times where we'll be playing and a player will be like, well, I want to do this. And we all know it's a bad idea. And we try and warn them like, hey, that's not going to work out for you. We don't think it's a good idea.
If they insist, I'll let them know.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Mindset.
Yeah, mindset when you're coming into play.
I'm going on an adventure.
Was it just excitement? I like that.
Going
Simple.
on a trip in his favorite rocket ship, man.
It's like a kid in a candy store.
Depends
Fucking
on-
love it.
Depends
That means
on,
I'm doing something right.
depends on what game type. Like Fantasy High, yes, that's like going on an adventure because you never know where you're gonna be. You might be out in the middle of the woods or out in the city or something.
Spoiler alert, junior year, you guys will be back in school.
And then
Back in Elmville.
And then when
Which
we're
works for
playing
part of
like
what I want.
Viral or Call of Cthulhu, which I don't think I've played any of.
Yeah,
Viral was
Call of
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu.
That
So was
like,
Uncle Timothy's Will.
that one I didn't know what we were getting into, so I was like, oh, we're just gonna be
Ghost hunting.
ghost hunting. It might be in a house or something, you know. So I was getting myself ready to like be prepared to like mess with like gadgets and stuff. And then when we got into it, it was like, okay, I see what this is about now. Okay, this is what I should be into.
Yeah.
Now Cyberpunk, I was more into like we're gonna be using weapons and being like robotic things and
Yeah.
stuff. So I got into like okay, I gotta get my mindset into like weapons and robots and
The
things like that.
sci-fi shit.
Yeah.
He almost went cyber psycho.
Okay.
Sound like a puppy.
I know.
What, baby?
Daddy,
What? Here, come on in. What's up?
Trying to look and see which one he might want to do next. Let's see if he wants to do this one next. It just got so quiet. Y'all got anything to say? Shit. Whoop, whoop. Oh. Donna. Really?
I.
Oh my god. It was awful.
You know who that's from, right?
That's not the point. You didn't even do it right, so it ain't from no one. You went, I. No, it's I.
Ugh.
Came in at the wrong time.
That would have been so wrong if you would have thought the other thing. You said that.
Anyway, I don't want to know.
Anywho, I think we should do that one next.
Okay. So we'll tackle this one first. That way they're not confused with each other.
Right.
PvP, player versus player mindset.
So that's more along the lines of, getting mad at the player themselves.
Mhm.
Like
disagreements at the table.
For example, we were doing Cyberpunk and, we got attacked and I was like last or second to last on initiative. So it took a while for me to be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it got to me, this person had run this person out, this person had done this thing, and the closest thing that I could get to and do was get out the window by where Tank was and attack this dude out there with him. So I was like, okay, that's my best option. That's what I'm gonna fucking do. So I did, and I killed him. And Tank got pissed at me. I was gonna kill him. Okay, I'm sorry. It was all I could do, but I don't know what to do for you.
Definitely not getting to all of these because we're about at 2 hours. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish up this one, and then we're gonna go ahead and move down to this one,
Okay.
and then we'll save the rest of these for part 2.
Yeah. So PvP is the players having issues with each other outside of the game. Well, it's about the game usually, but it's
And
not.
sometimes
in
they'll
the
do
game.
shit in game because of how they feel out of
Mhm.
game. That's a lot of it.
I was guilty of that for a while.
But that's not to be confused with character versus character
Right.
conflict.
Which is more along the lines of we're still cool, but our characters aren't, so they're gonna duke it out.
Right. Like another example that we've already mentioned, Tank, sophomore year.
When he betrayed the party. It wasn't anything he had against all of us personally.
It made sense with the story. It made sense with the characters. And like I said earlier, even in death, I've never seen a bigger smile on that boy's face.
And he was prepared for it. If you do this, they will kill you. And he's like, I know, I'm good with that. And afterwards, he was right there with us talking about how epic it was. So I think it worked out really well.
What the fuck, Wilbur? I'm not reading all that. I'm not reading the Constitution of Wilbur.
Where do we sign?
However, I normally don't like having character versus character conflict in the game unless it makes sense with the story, which it has a couple of times. Another good one was Uncle Timothy's Will.
I was just gonna say, we talked about Fantasy Island, Uncle Timothy's Will, which is actually what he and I were talking about on the way up here.
And they pretty much all killed each other.
Which Nitro was not expecting a TPK.
Like I told Jade, I said that was a good game. Yeah, I got a little pissed off when she killed me at first, and then after a while, I was like, dude, that was dope as fuck.
Because it makes sense. Like in the game, my character,
they were all stuck up assholes
to begin with
that hated each other.
Well, like at one point.
Oh, you mother! You
did
do it.
You did though.
The chair did. What you talking about, bro?
Chairs don't knock over things. People standing up from chairs knock over things.
Hey, brother. Nothing broke.
Hashtag nostalgia.
Right?
Anyway.
Like at one point my character started getting the spookies.
Mm-hmm.
And she got this overwhelming urge to kill somebody. Like, in order for her to be okay, she had to kill somebody. Everybody else had done taken off to do something, and he was alone, drunk, old, and he was the most vulnerable one out of the group. So I killed him. And then the guys killed Tink. And then Tank killed himself by blowing him. My sister was dead, and he thought I was immediately going to attack him for it. So he's like, I'm just going to shoot her first. And granted this magical ability to summon a demon. And I was like, oh, I see what you're gun at me. Demon. So as soon as he shot me, the fucking demon snatched him up. It was an epic TPK.
It was great.
And it was character versus character. We were all chill with it, But it made sense in the story, and it made for an epic ending.
It did. I think that's one of my favorite endings that we've had.
Oh yeah, and I don't like an ending where we die. I like to be able to find a resolution to the problem,
right?
Which you can almost never do in Call of Cthulhu, but at least not the one shots. But
most of the one shots end in either death or insanity. Sometimes both. And sometimes it's even worse than that. You remember the Dare?
Disassociation.
I love that scenario.
Fucking hated that ending.
You want to run it for somebody?
Yes. Ooh.
Oh, shit.
Greenie, Strife, and Tink haven't played that.
I wanted to run it for them. You can sit behind the screen.
Deal.
Like co-run.
Yes! As that's how I learn, is I help out.
If they agree, that'll be the third time I've run that. I love that scenario.
Who played it the first time?
Nexus, I think. Maybe. Wait, no, I don't think Nexus was there. It was Slickback, Inferno, and Bitch Boy from Cape that shares Nexus's name.
That means after I co-run it with you, I can run it for Nexus, Suicidal Queen, and Wilbur.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
How's that sound, y'all?
What is it?
Disassociation.
It's a Call of Cthulhu modern day scenario. That's all I'm going to tell you.
That's all you need to know.
He said, yeah, he's down.
He said, run it for me. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, this one.
Yep.
So we can wrap up.
So now we're going to talk about why we play these games. Like, what do we get out of it?
I think that's a different answer for everyone specifically.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, why do you play?
I'm gonna answer.
Suicidal Queen says, "Let's go." He said,
For me, I have to think of it from the perspective of a GM because that's what I'm used to. And I do it for several reasons. One, it's very fun. Two, it's a very good creative and emotional outlet. And three, it allows me to break from reality, get away from all the bullshit, and just enjoy a few hours of fun with some friends.
"Right."
What about you? You ain't had much to add this episode.
Why I like playing?
Yeah.
I like playing because it gets me out of things in life and helps me decompress and relieve stress.
I like that.
Same thing with why I play video games. Because that helps me like
It's an
get
escape
over
kinda.
anxiety and feeling like everything is just piled on. It
Yeah.
kind of just like lulls me out.
Your turn.
Yep, pretty much same reasonings. Like, without getting too much into heavy territory, we all know, we've all dealt with some bullshit, and with the amount of shit that I've got to worry about on a daily basis, having those few hours once every other week or once every month or whatever is that one time where I can let go of everything that I have to stress about and say, you know what, I know this isn't going to be accomplished until at least this time period anyways. Today is for me to relax. This is my escape. This is the break from reality that is much needed when you're dealing with all of that bullshit.
Right.
And being able to not just like that's why I read. Because whenever I'm too overwhelmed, it's a good break from reality.
Right.
The difference, though, between reading a book and playing these games for me is I can read a book all day long and read about these people doing this cool shit and experiencing these cool worlds and have these cool magical abilities. Experience what I would love to see in a horror movie or become a cyborg, all this neat shit that I can't do in real life that allows me to immerse myself in something other than stress.
So when we do dissociation for them, are you going to have to leave the room for that one scene?
I'm going to fight through it.
Okay.
Because when I read it, I'm going to have to.
We got some messages.
Suicidal Queen, I love playing because I can be my goofy self surrounded by family and friends. It allows a safe place to let go of all the stress of life. It creates a safe place and creates memories with those we care about. I love that answer.
Pretty much what I said, but wraps it up more in detail.
I think we all play for, close to the same reasons. Friends, family, and a break.
So we're past the 2-hour mark. Before we go, if anyone in the chat has any other reasons why they enjoy gaming, go ahead and drop them and we might read them out. And be looking for part 2 next week.
You going to hold on to that list?
Yep. We've got, here's my pen, 7 more categories to go over. So we'll do that in part 2. Today
we'll need to come up with at least one more that's as semi, good like this one to wrap up with.
Wrap up with that one.
Okay.
But we did 7 today. Part 2, there's 7 more. Just give it a minute to
Suicidal Queen, it creates hella funny stories. Yes, it does.
Oh, you mean like when a dainty little lady turns into a T-Rex and eats the drow that we're planning on kidnapping them? You mean like that?
Or like
I'm a motherfucking T-Rex! Shout out to Nostalgia Critic, # not sponsored.
Or like Jade tells me, because I wasn't in the game or around at the time, where she explains that you put her in a
when a drow makes a T-Rex disappear. It pissed him off so bad. Like the look on his face was priceless. He was like, he explains it to me. I said, "So all I got to do is survive?" And he goes, "Yeah, with a fucking T-Rex. Good luck. You're a squishy." And I went, "Banishment." And he goes, "Roll it." Nat 20.
I'm coming. I'll
Fuck!
be right there. Take it to the table. I'll be right there. I will get it for you. I promise. Okay.
Oh, roar! Flaps T-Rex arms. We don't have to even bend them. We have
Yeah.
T-Rex arms.
So, I think that covers it
I
for
think
this
that's
week.
about all of it.
So, like I said, look out for part 2 next week. Oh, and I told you I had a pretty cool idea. We're going to put it to a vote for the viewers. Would any of you like to see me run a couple of 1 to 2 player one shots on live stream?
That is a dope ass idea.
You know the split screen thing we do on the phone?
Yeah,
Don't have
one
to
vote.
get shit out. Y'all can be at the house,
Yeah,
and I
one
can
vote
just
for
call
yes.
you up. Y'all sit together, and we do like the haunting or
Right.
something like that.
We got 2 yes votes. And I think they're the only 2 actually commenting in the chat at this point. So.
I think
We have
so.
6 people. If I drop out of here, oh.
Well, you got 4.
So
'cause
we
both
have
of
4.
You are in.
But only 2 commenting.
All right, so
Well, you got 2 more votes for yes because I know I'm down and I'm pretty sure Greenie is.
I don't know when this may or may not happen because I will need time to get some shit
Wilbur,
situated.
get your
and
votes in
crap.
here. You other 2 people, I call upon thee.
Yes.
Leave it to Wilbur.
So I might put up a poll on Facebook or
Some of the
something on
electoral
here.
counts.
I might put up a poll later or something like that. So y'all let me know if that's something you'd be
Make a post on
interested
the
in.
Facebook page.
Now, since we do try to keep like a 2 to 3 hour format, every adventure more than likely will be broken up. Part 1 this week, part 2 the next week, you know, like that.
But with the way
But-
you end on cliffhangers, it'll work out just fine for us playing like that.
Yeah. Be like a Dimension 20 type deal. Play for a couple hours and then you gotta wait a week. Anyway,
On the first episode.
so until next week.
Woo woo.
Woo woo.